Coming to you live from the Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio. This is Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
If you're me, it's another day at the office.
Minshew stands on the goal line and waits for the shotgun snap. He stands 3 yards deep in the end zone. Under pressure from Miles. Ball out. Fight for it to the end zone. Miles got home again. Who's got it? Browns do. Touchdown. Sanchez kneels at midfield for this. Gay's going to try it from 60. It's blocked. Ball loose. Fight for it. Denzel Ward picks it up. Ward running across the Indianapolis 30.
That was Myles Garrett that blocked that field goal. And earlier this week, Bubba Ventrone, after he had his presser, was in our booth, and I said, man, Myles Garrett, how about that? He said, we're going to block a kick this week. He called it. Myles goes in, blocks it, Denzel scoops it, and the Browns in business. That's absolutely incredible.
I've actually done it a couple times throughout the years, every now and then, just to keep our offense or keep our special teams honest, just for fun. And I think Bubba, when he went into the archives and saw it, he was like, yeah, we gotta bring this up.
Browns from the 1. This is the game. Out of the eye, they need the touchdown. Hunt and Harris. Walker gives to Kareem Hunt. Pushing, touchdown! Kareem Hunt got it across the goal line! Minshew to throw, steps up. Minshew lost the football. It's down to the ground. Almost got it. Fumble!
Ruling on the field is a fumble recovered by Cleveland.
And the Browns will beat the Colts 39-38. Obo makes snow angels in Indianapolis, and the Browns will go to 4-2.
Here are your hosts, Bo Bishop and Nathan Zagura.
Oh, baby, let's do it live on a Victory Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Bo, the great Z. Thrilling affair
Joyous.
in Indy, and
Pure
absolutely
joy.
Joyous.
The cardiac
affair.
kids are back, baby.
It's unbelievable. And I'm told the man who scored the game-winning touchdown is joining us now on the Twisted Tea Hotline, Kareem Hunt. Kareem, can you take us through those closing minutes, those plays down at the goal line before you eventually got in?
It was I was expecting to maybe score on one of those, plays Kevin called earlier, but I was waiting for my turn. I was waiting to hear my number called, and once it was called, I was just so excited. I told the big fellas wanted to run it right in too, so we all fired up and said, hey, this is win or go home right here. So we put everything on the line, and just those guys got good push, and I just got my pass down and drove. I was gonna find the yard.
When you get the play call, you're getting the ball. You know that Cleveland, which means so much to the entire city right now, is going to rest on, obviously it's not one person, it's 11 on 11, but your ability to get that ball into the end zone. How do you kind of stay calm, focused? Like, what goes through your mind before that ball snapped, and then take us through from the time he gave you the ball and you got into the end zone?
I mean, it goes through my head that, I got to do this for the city for sure, especially being from here. I was just like, all right, man, it's, fourth down, all or nothing. And I was grateful to, have the opportunity to, get the ball in my hands because I control that. So I wasn't going to be denied, man. In my head, I was just like, yes, it's time to put them away.
And
I got the ball, saw Wyatt pull around and Nick Harris go in there, and then I said, all right, let's go. Got behind my pads and just drove and pushed.
Did you see the contact that was coming from the side? Because really, straight away, you were good. Wyatt ended up about 8 yards in the end zone after he just creamed somebody. And then he got hit from the side and were able to drag. Did you see that hit coming? And then once you felt it, did you know you got into the end zone? Were you sure that you had gotten in?
Yeah, so I knew I had to run through some arm tackles, and I gained so much power and speed just hitting it. I was like, I got to find a way. So I knew I got in the end zone, though, for sure. There was no doubt in my mind. I looked at the official on the side.
Yeah.
And he saw me cross. I'm like, the ball, my elbow, and everything's across.
Yes.
Like, I just hope he sees it. So he saw it. He gave it a touchdown right away. But I knew I got it into the end zone, even if they reviewed it.
Let everybody know, too, that not only was this a needed play, but remember, Nick Chubb is gone. Jerome Ford went down. You came out and battled. It was unclear if you were going to be able to go in this game with that thigh injury. You went out there and did, as Kevin Stefanski said, on one leg at the end of the game. What does that mean to you, and what did that mean to your teammates to see you go battle and compete the way that you did?
I mean, I told him before the game, look, I said, I'm going to go give it everything I got for y'all boys because, that's just the competitor I am. And you're right, it was tough. I didn't know if I was going to for sure play or not till literally Sunday morning. I was just seeing how I felt. If you would ask me Friday, maybe Saturday, I would probably tell you it's up in the air myself.
Yeah.
And so I was just able to, I said one last play not play. I was waiting for the play to be called, but I was like, this is the time I got to, really, dig very deep and get everything out of it and find a way to put that ball in the end zone.
Talking to Kareem Hunt, who scored not one but two touchdowns in the win yesterday in Indy, including the game-winning touchdown, which we're talking about right now. Kareem, you think about this tenure of yours, and it's two separate ones now with the Browns, but this return of yours and filling in for Nick, who went down early in the season. You have always been one of the most beloved players on this team by your teammates, but it's from this fan base as well. It is incredible the response that you get at Cleveland Browns Stadium and from a Browns nation. Did you see this coming, and what does it feel like from your perspective, a native Clevelander, the way that this city, this fan base just absolutely adores you?
Man, it's amazing, especially being from here. I've done a lot for the community, and then, I got a lot of family, close friends. I've been here my whole life, played middle school, Pee-wee, even played college football at, Toledo in Ohio, not too far up the road. So, it's just crazy how everything worked out, especially not knowing, probably a month ago, you said I was coming back to Cleveland, I would be like, you might be crazy before Nick actually got injured. But, I hate to see, a brother like that goes down, and God must have had a plan for me to come back and, help, finish what we started. I've been here this is my 5th year here now. No place like home. It's just, a great feeling to be able to come play for your hometown and, know everybody's behind you.
Kareem, did you get a chance have you talked to Nick Chubb after this game? I know you're in touch with him all the time, and we got to see him at the facility on Friday, which was awesome. But did he get to talk with him after this one?
Yeah, I got to talk to him a little bit for sure.
He had to be fired up for you.
Oh, yeah, he was happy, man. He very happy, but he was like, man, y'all made that very close.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, Kareem.
I know he was probably stressed out.
I wanted to ask you about Miles. You've been around him for a while now, obviously. He did some things, yes. I've never seen anybody jump a special teams line of scrimmage from a stance and block a field goal. What is it like what he's doing this season? Obviously, we've seen his greatness for a long time, but just from your perspective, as someone's been around here a little bit, to see him kind of having the type of season he's having.
Look, I would say every day he's the best, defensive player in the NFL, and it's not close. He's just a freak, and I've never seen somebody box jump, stand. Bro, I don't even know what he did. He just shot out of a cannon, and just from dead stands. But like I said, that was an amazing play. I know Miles is an amazing player, and he's always been that way. And I love to see him going out there and leaving it all out there. And that's a great teammate right there.
Great teammate, great player. This is a great win. Here you guys are 4-2, and for you a little bit of a milestone. Yesterday we had talked about it. You scored your 50th career touchdown in the National Football League and 51, which turned out to be even more important. But when you think about that, for all that you've been through, that's 50 touchdowns in the National Football League is a lot. And to do that with the Cleveland Browns and to do it in a game where you guys got to win like this, does that mean anything to you, those kind of milestones? You're able to kind of sit back and look at that after a game like that?
Yes, it's amazing, man. It's been quite the journey, and I couldn't be happier. And it came in a perfect time. Honestly, like that game, I'm just so happy we got the win. It would have meant a lot still, but it feels even better knowing that we won. And it's a milestone that nobody take away from me.
That's right.
It's something I'll be able to tell my kids, everybody. I scored over 50 touchdowns in the NFL, and man, I'm like excited about it, and I'm trying to make it to 100 now.
Let's go.
Let's go, man.
Let's go.
Hey, buddy, thank you so much. Enjoy your victory Monday. We can enjoy it in large part because of you and the way you finished this game out. Thanks for your time, pal.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's Kareem Hunt, our running back, who scored the game winner yesterday on the Twisted Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Obviously, there is a lot to break down on this win over in Indy on Sunday. Those are your hot topics presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns. We will break it all down coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, your local Tide cleaners, anytime during the month of October for a chance to win an upcoming tickets to a Browns game. You'll automatically be entered to win with any purchase. It is a Victory Monday. We are 4-2, 39-38. I mean, this thing had it all. I
Sad that it was such a dull one.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord, it had every single thing that you could ever have wanted from a dramatic standpoint. The number one thing, though, to jumping off point is Miles, and this is one of those ones that when he's going into Canton with the gold jacket, there will be several plays from this game that will be in the montage. I have never in my life seen anybody do what he did on the blocked field goal. I've seen people get a running start and jump. I've seen that. I've seen people even like try to catapult, which is now illegal, but there was a time when it wasn't. He is in a stance and jumped from a stance over the line of scrimmage, hopped and blocked it.
That's right.
That explosiveness I've never seen before ever in football. I've never seen
box jumps over 6 feet tall, so he was able to do that.
Never
you
seen
can't
it.
make contact. Of course, never seen it. And his quote was the best.
Yeah.
Oh, was that hard? Not for me.
I've never seen anything like it.
He is otherworldly. The sack strip fumble touchdown, they chipped him, and he still somehow got around the outside. The tackle was waiting for him, Raymond, and he still was able to get around him and get the sack. He is playing on another level. I thought that, this was our defense had the first time this year. We had a couple of busts. We gave up some big plays, but they still delivered 4 takeaways, 5 sacks in this one, so the overs had that right there. But Myles Garrett is playing at a defensive player of the year level. I said on the broadcast yesterday, that's the one thing that has eluded him, thus far in his career in terms of the accolades is that. And I think that if he continues on this pace right now, he'll be there. 9 tackles, which is wild. So he was second on the team in tackles. He then gives you 2 sacks, the 2 forced fumbles, and blocked a field goal, according to Andrew Siciliano, who filled in very well for the great
nice job.
Jim
You and him
Donovan.
do a nice job.
I think we had a great time
job.
together. And we obviously can't wait for to get Jim back, and hopefully that will be very soon. But we were talking on there, and he put out a tweet yesterday about Myles Garrett that was the first time that game that a player had done that with the 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a blocked field goal in the same game. First player since 1991 to do that. There are a lot of games that have been played since then.
Yeah, there have been.
8 lead changes in this game. That was the most of any NFL game in 4 years. In fact, in the 140-year history of the NFL, it was only the 15th game ever to have 8 or more lead changes in it.
I mean, the game took forever, too. I mean, it was like 4:40 or whenever by the time it finally got done. Like, everything else in the early window was done. I kept going. And it just kept being played. I'm like, my God, it just wouldn't end.
I was like, the games that kicked off at 4, there's 7 minutes left in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
What's going on here? Yeah, we didn't get home till late.
Yeah, it was.
From Indy. On a plane.
Crazy. Miles is what you're going to remember most from this, though. And if now we have to do our part, we have to keep winning for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. By the way, T.J. Watt with another interception yesterday for the Steelers against the Rams, so he's going to continue to press, and there's others who will press as well. Miles is on a different trajectory right now, and if we continue to win, he is going to have a very, very good opportunity to win this award because he's unblockable at the moment. And it's the idea. It's so interesting. Like when we punted, I was talking with the boys and we punted. Why didn't we go for it? And I said, well, because we have Miles. And they're inside the 5. Yeah. And you have Myles Garrett. That's why. And sure, what's he do? Strip sack, fumble, touchdown, Browns. Okay. Like he's the idea that he's almost to the point now where you can count on him wrecking a game once or twice it's just so hard for a defensive player to have that type of dominance, and he does.
No, right now we're following a formula that is, and Browns fans are not going to like this, but the last 2 weeks we've won games the way that the Steelers have won games for a couple of years now, where they just kind of hang around. It's not pretty. They can have some disastrous turnovers on offense, but they overcome it because in their case, T.J. Watt makes 1 or 2 plays towards the end of the game that changes it, or in our case, it's Myles Garrett. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not a sustainable model for victory. We have got to figure out what's going on at the quarterback situation, but I like that you started with the ability, and I feel so lucky, in what I do for a living that I've gotten to cover greatness. Like Myles Garrett is somebody that will be remembered in many ways the way that Joe Thomas is remembered as a left tackle. That Myles Garrett, if there is at some point, the greatest football game ever played, he's playing in it. Like he's
on that trajectory.
He's on that trajectory if he continues to go the way that he's going.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. He's the resume right now, and he's still smack dab in the middle of his prime, obviously. And so barring anything negative happening from an injury standpoint, the trajectory he's on right now, and based on what he's almost already accomplished, he is on a very short list of the best defensive players in the history of this franchise. And we have played a lot of football here. But the resume on its own puts him at near the top of that conversation already. So what else is capable? Now it's just about doing all of the rest of the stuff around him. And I did think it was important to start here because you are 4-2.
Yes.
Right?
So
and
there's a lot of good.
Let's remember that you are 4-2.
There's a lot to celebrate
and you get a lot of reason to celebrate. Another thing that I wanted to celebrate was Dustin Hopkins. This guy's out of his mind.
He's
unbelievable. A 58-yarder down the pipe.
That was his career long.
I know it. And you're watching this, you're going like, I guess. Because on the broadcast, like, previous long was 56. I'm like, I don't know. Everyone he's kicked to this point has been as straight and true as can be. Dead pipe.
And good from
and
65.
Good from well beyond.
Yeah.
To have a weapon like this at kicker this was Myles 1A Hopkins.
Well, I did my post-game recap, and about at maybe like 4 minutes into it, I kind of stopped myself and said, and I would be remiss.
Yes, you would be.
If I continued this without mentioning Dustin Hopkins. And you have to ask what a genius trade by Andrew Berry. That has turned out to be one of he alone is worth 2 wins. Alone. He's been worth 2 wins.
Dude, he had 3 field goals over 50 yards. He won AFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
He's going to win it again.
He's going to win it again.
He's going to be AFC Special Teams Player of the Month when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And he set a record. Nobody has ever had a 50-yard field goal make in 5 straight games ever in the history of the NFL, and Dustin Hopkins has done that. 5 straight, and that was the knock, remember?
He
was
hit the big
17 of 30 from 50-plus coming into this season. He's 7 of 7.
54, 54, 58.
Do you give it to Hopkins? Do you give it to Myles for
Myles
Special Teams Player of the Week?
Myles
simply for the jump.
Yeah. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Week.
He's going to win Defensive Player of the Week.
Well, he should.
And we're going to win Special Teams Player of the Week. And
that's how it should be.
Most importantly, we won the football game. One thing on Myles, though, you talked about trajectory. His 82 sacks, he doesn't turn 28 until December. Mm-hmm. His 82 sacks right now are the most ever. He just passed Reggie White for a player before their 28th birthday.
Yeah.
So he is, and I got a feeling between now and December, he might end up being 10 sacks above what Reggie White accomplished where he turned 28. Think about that.
Well, when you the names that you see, there was a PFF had a grade. His grade right now this season is like 95.5, and the highest ever for a defensive player is Aaron Donald, like 94.2 on a pass rush grade. So historically, we just don't have anything really to compare what he's doing to. He's setting the new bar. And the cool thing I think about him, we talked about this even very early in the season, we identified it, there's a different tone to him. There was even more swagger, whether it was the crossover move,
yes,
like all of those little things that he is doing, calling his shot, saying I'm going here, all that stuff. All of those things, like he is so fully formed right now. His greatness is on display on a weekly basis. His dominance is on display on a weekly. He wrecked the game for Indy yesterday. They had success on us running the football. Jonathan Taylor looked like old Jonathan Taylor.
Good.
Minshew looked pretty dang good inside the 20 and made some big-time throws.
Minshew came in this game, by the way, with 6 rushes for 8 yards on the season.
Oh, I know.
And
2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff that, like, this was probably our worst defensive performance. But
yes.
we did the one thing that we hadn't done a lot of previously, which was take the ball away.
And they let
Denzel, by the way,
points.
that was an incredible interception.
Yeah, peeled off his outside zone to undercut that was incredible.
Unbelievable to get over there. I told the boys, I said, that's the first play that I've seen it. It's funny. I looked at NBC and he looked at me with a big smile on his face because I always complain when we play Madden, like how the defensive backs can cut off all the routes. And they're like, NBC goes, Dad, see, they can do it.
Yes.
Okay, one play in the course of a day could. But you needed those game-changing plays. You needed those kicks. You needed all that stuff. You needed Jerome Ford going to the house early in the game. You had to have that.
And it's funny because I think this game could have had such a different tone if on that. So we score.
Yeah.
Then we get them to 3rd and 7, which you're thinking we're getting the ball back.
Yep.
And then you go 14, and that's what the Jags did. And then the Colts kind of, they lose their way a little bit. They can't be that running team.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our first bust of the year.
That's on the where we think it's going to be. They're gonna call it dead, like on the off.
Well, and that's the one thing. If we were going to nitpick any, we got to clean those up.
Yeah,
and two of them led to
huge
plays because half the people stop.
Yeah.
We got to just stay on sides. Too many times we're going off sides, but that's fine. If it leads to the great play, whatever, we'll make the trade-off. But on that one, we just had a bust. I think Denzel, and rightfully so, being that it was 3rd and 7 with our pass rush, you're expecting the ball to come out a little quicker. And probably if Minshew doesn't, if it's not a free play, he probably doesn't even look at Downs.
Oh, no.
Downs is running a clear-out route, and Denzel was supposed to, I think, had a deep third, I'm guessing, is what it looked like. And then he came over to the slot receiver who was a little shorter, and that's why Downs was so free.
Yeah.
Because you had Delpit in the flat. So that's what it appeared to be. But they hit some big plays on us. But I think we had a chance early, like right after that 69-yarder, because that was so good to get it going. But, man, it was a battle. And, again, the Browns don't often get help from the referees, if there was help or not. I mean,
I don't care.
I don't care either.
Someone was complaining to me. I said, do you know how many Monday shows? When did we get the NFL officiating report where they apologize for all the things
God,
we do
that's
wrong?
all the time.
Is that Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
I said, you know how many Tuesday shows I've done on Cleveland Browns Daily where we get the apology from the referees and go, well, thanks for nothing.
Thanks for doesn't
Fantastic.
change anything.
I could care less about that. We're due.
Oh, man.
We are long past
We've
due.
won 2 games in a row that we don't win, typically,
Absolutely
historically.
not.
And it's
Absolutely
awesome.
not.
And it's great.
Yeah.
And
by
here's
the way,
thing.
the first one on the PJ, the fumble, that absolutely impacted. He
100%.
clutched it, which caused the fumble, and Amari got held. The second one, again,
I don't know.
We've had plenty of things on a Tuesday where
For
you and
sure.
I sit here and go, "Oh, look what this is."
I'm not
the
sure.
NFL apologizing.
I'm not sure that ball was catchable for Manute Bull.
A George Murison on
yeah.
the corner.
At least Manute, I feel like could maybe run a little. Murison, I don't think he can even run a route.
There was who's the
Manute
guy?
Bull killed a lion. Okay,
That's true. There's the guy, and it's funny because when I was a little kid, I was fascinated by him in the Guinness Book of World Records. Like I think the guy's name is like Robert Ludlow or something. He's like the 9-foot guy from England.
Yeah.
Like my boys have found him in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Dad, 9'2". Wouldn't that be great to be 9'2"? No,
No, probably
be
not.
awful. Be the worst.
Probably not.
Like maybe he could have brought it down if he was standing prone. Maybe. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Give me.
Of course.
Give me. 9. He wants to know. He's like some 6'7". I'd like to know 9'2".
I want to know 9'2".
He's intrigued
What
by
that's
that.
all about. But either way, irregardless, we've had a lot of things go against us that way.
Yes, fine.
It was good to have one go.
And you know
for
what's
us.
great about the NFL is that they all count the same. This counts the same as if we'd gone in there and beat them 56-0. Now, would there be the questions that we have coming out of it? No. So that part's fine. But as far as the standings go, it doesn't matter. It just so happens that in our division, the Steelers pulled another wild one out.
Did you see the spot?
He was a yard short.
Of course he was a yard short. McVay couldn't challenge it because he didn't have any timeouts, and it wasn't under 2 minutes.
It was right before the 2 minutes.
It was right before the 2-minute warnings. They get off. It's
unbelievable.
It's absolutely nuts. The NFL yesterday was DiCaprio on the Lemon Ludes. That's what the NFL.
By the
No,
way,
I don't want to talk about it. I'm not ready.
I
don't want to talk about it. Did not go well.
Hey, so you know what?
We're due. You do.
That's why you have a 30-game cushion after 6 weeks.
The NFL. You and I are climbing out of the into the Lamborghini right now after that week. That was nuts. That was dude. But not just. It's one thing. It's one thing for the scores to not be right. It's another thing for like Baltimore to annihilate Detroit. It's another thing for Buffalo to lose to the Patriots. There were more too that were just absolutely stupefying. The kid, his first start, the arm wrestler kid.
Yes.
The Bears. They win. They bully
Destroyed.
the Raiders. Bullied the Raiders. This is what happened.
You had that, right?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
Here's what I do know.
I should have had it. I said that was what I was going to do all week, and then I went.
I can't remember.
I think you actually. And here I say I'd have you against it, but who knows? I'd like you to have not.
Yeah, it would have been nice. Now there is.
I'm just looking at it. There's so many blank. Taylor Swift's very popular right now, I'm told. There are a lot of blank spaces on our win columns.
Oh, boy. It's not good. It's not good. No kids going through college. You're destitute.
Sorry.
You're at the
I hope this wasn't the week that you hopped on board.
Would
You're
you
not
like
gonna-
fries or onion rings?
Oh my God.
You'll get nothing and like it. That's what we gave you this week.
You're not getting the suite at the Palazzo. That's not. You're on Fremont Street after that weekend. All right,
Penny slots.
Oh, totally penny slots. Let's do the. We got to do the Deshaun stuff. So it was crazy. This was so a full practice on Friday for Deshaun Watson. We were told, correct? I believe we had that was the
Yes,
case.
no.
Fully active practice. He took all of
the
it.
full
Looked great.
workload.
Everything looked great.
Threw the ball effectively.
Was a participant in Thursday's practice. Was a full participant in Friday's practice.
He took PJ Walker said he got 2 reps, I think, Thursday. So Deshaun took all the reps Thursday and then every single rep Friday.
By the way, good job out of PJ Walker in a brutal spot. I mean, that's 2 weeks. I mean, just really.
There are things that there are throws that he does not connect with that, like on the third down, we never should have gotten to fourth one on third down. He's rolling right, which for a right-handed quarterback is that's where you want to be rolling. And Elijah Moore couldn't have been more open, 8 yards in front of him or 6 yards, and he missed him by 10 yards. I mean,
I know.
So but on 3rd and 10, he gets the ball off a millisecond before DeForest Buckner knocks it, sack strip, fumbles him, and drops a dime into Elijah Moore. We do not win the game without that throw.
Nope.
And then he drilled a nice one to Donovan Peoples-Jones down to the 20-yard line. We don't win without some of the plays he made. P.J. Walker had started 7 games before coming to the Cleveland Browns. There we go. That's right. Yes. We will take it. He had started 7 games. He had never had a fourth-quarter comeback or a game-winning drive. He has now 2 fourth-quarter comebacks and 2 game-winning drives in the last 2 weeks against the 49ers. And then the team that brought him into the league, how poetic is that, as an undrafted free agent out of Temple, was the Colts. He was there 17, 18, 19. In fact, when we were there, Gibbe, for those joint practices, he was there. P.J. Walker was their quarterback because if you remember at the time, I think it was Jacoby, Andrew Luck, and I think P.J. Walker, and Andrew Luck was
nowhere to be found.
Not a participant.
Not a participant. So I thought that was very cool for him. Again, we have got – okay, I have so many thoughts. We're starting with Deshaun. So I felt like, and even watching him warm up, I was kind of like, I don't know that we're ripping it, and maybe we're saving it for the game, but I felt like he was not – it felt like he almost didn't trust his own arm to throw the ball the way he knows he's capable of throwing it. The ball to Marquise Goodwin was wide open.
Well, that's what it looked like in the game.
I mean, he was wide open, and then the ball was late and was in the air for an eternita, as Cartman would say.
Yeah.
And so it was that was really good. Put that on a hotkey. It just felt like he didn't trust himself. He didn't trust his own being to play the game despite getting, cleared and being able to do it and hitting his velocity checks from prior to the injury and all of those things. And it felt like once he was in the game, he just was not comfortable letting it rip. And so you come in a little bit banged up, and whether that's, in this case, you never know what somebody feels, right, in their shoulder.
Only he knows.
Only he knows. This is a guy whose toughness has been, beyond reproach in terms of things that he's done in his career, playing on a torn ACL, the lung, all of it. There's some disconnect between, I think, what's going on in his mind and what's going on with his arm and the ability to then execute at a high level. And so I don't know what the solution is. And as I said, even in the postgame, like, we've got questions, big ones, coming out of this game. It's nice being 4-2, but the fact of the matter is, as we're currently constructed, this team, and P.J. Walker has done a great job, and DTR showed nice flashes in the preseason. As this team is currently constructed, we are not going to be a team of consequence unless Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and you have that Tennessee tape, the 3
right,
quarters
and that's
against
where
Tennessee,
you felt like,
where you felt like, okay, there you go.
Now we're going to do it.
Now we're going to go, and then the injury happens in that Tennessee game, and we haven't seen it since. And you and I were talking last week, and I said, and this was before he practiced Friday, but I thought, like, can we just expect somebody who hasn't practiced in 4 weeks to come in and go and have all of it back? And then he had the great practice on Friday, and he said, well, put that to bed then. Then he's good to go, and away you go. But, I don't know now, and we're going to play coach for you in a second. I think you hit it right. Like, to me, even like before he went out of the game, he looked like somebody who was trying to place the ball.
Yes, pushing it. He was pushing it.
It was like he was trying to place the ball where he wanted it to go.
On the first throw to
There
Ford,
was no
the first check down.
natural rip, nothing. It was all looked like he was like a kid first time back from like a catastrophic injury. Am I throwing? Is this where it goes? That's what it felt like to me.
In my mind, and it feels like, when somebody comes back from an ACL and they may be medically cleared, but they either themselves still
major surgery
feel something and don't trust their body to make the cuts because they're afraid until at some point, you go and then you forget about it. In my walk of life, it's like for me with my voice, if I have a cold, I'm constantly thinking about it, and then all of a sudden one day I stop thinking about that and my voice is fine.
Yep.
And I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect for him there that is a hurdle that has got to be overcome. Because, listen, we were at the Greenbrier. We were at training camp together. We've seen him. He's got a cannon. We're talking about a guy who was ripping 20-yard outs from the far hash. He did it against Tennessee. He was making throws that where the Tennessee guys thought they were going to get a jump on the ball, and the ball beat them to the receiver. So we know what his arm actually is. And it is not right now that. It's not. And so it's got to be figured out how to get him comfortable there because,
I just don't know how you do that in an NFL season.
I think it's got to come from, in my mind, one man's opinion, it's got to come from him playing and just stop thinking. Just play. Just play. Just let it rip and then be like, oh, I've let it rip and my arm's still attached to my body. We're good to go. Mm-hmm. So you got to do it. You got to push it. And if you can't, because I know people are out there dreaming up Kirk Cousins scenarios and all of these things. I just don't see that as a realistic possibility. I mean,
is Jacoby?
Maybe, but if you're the Commanders, let's just play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
You call the Commanders, they would have an idea that you have zero. I mean, you're going to get, I would imagine, drug over the coals for this.
For sure, yeah, because you have everything else. And the only reason I say that, and I know that we'll play Kevin, and he was asked this by the beat, but it was like, is this a situation where he just needs to go on IR and go get rehabbed? I mean, he didn't have surgery, so I guess
I don't
rehab.
think so. I really
have no
don't
clue.
think so.
I just feel like
unless something changed after that hit, which did not appear to affect his shoulder in any way,
so.
Unless something changed after that, then I don't think so.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean,
he was saying that he had Deshaun's words, which was I guess, medical insight we got from him on it, were basically like abrasions or micro tears,
right?
That don't show up but are there.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we're not talking about something where there's a real structural issue.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a doctor.
So
nor
unless
do I
that
play
changed,
one on
me neither.
CBD,
but I'm saying unless that
changed
changed even from what he described,
yeah,
then you feel like you're getting better every single day. These guys have the ability to access the greatest treatment protocols in the world.
Sure.
There's obviously a lot going on to turn those micro tears into nothing, no tears whatsoever. So I don't know. It's the tough part about it is this team right now feels like a team of destiny. You're getting breaks that we've never got. You're 4-2. Now it's outrageous that the Steelers are also 4-2 and the Ravens I think are 5-2.
Well, they looked lights out too.
And they smoked Detroit.
Lamar was unbelievable yesterday.
That, 4-2 at times could have been right at the top of the division. You're still right there, but you're everywhere you need to be. But we need to get the quarterback play that's commensurate with our team. That's the one thing we haven't done. We finally won the turnover battle.
Yeah, and needed every one of them.
Needed every one of them. That's right.
Yeah. All right, you're going to hear from Coach Stefanski on Deshaun, among other things, his Monday meeting with the press coming your way next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner to your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Before we get to Coach at the podium, we have Alex Wright into concussion protocol from an injury standpoint.
Yeah, Coach says, though, today he's trending in the right direction, so maybe it's another AWOC situation where you might get him back sooner rather than later.
And then Jerome Ford,
ankle. And you saw that kind of when he came up, his foot didn't look great, and we'll see. But, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Pierre Strong, you just signed Deion Jackson, so that's at least a spot on the roster where you've got some depth. Ford's got that go get him. But I'll tell you what, I like the way Pierre Strong runs the football.
Yeah, he ran it nice.
I think
he did fine, yeah.
I think he has a shot. If you were to feature him, he's going to take some to the house. He's got speed.
There's none of this is enough to do what your defense would and your special teams will allow you to do in terms of a ceiling, but it's enough to keep you afloat.
Yep.
You're at Seattle this week, and then Arizona here.
And they're
after
beatable.
They are
unimpressively good.
No, they're fine. But I mean, it's going to be a full day winning out there for sure, especially as banged up as you are right now.
Their corners are elite.
They are, yeah. And they played yesterday without DK Metcalf in the game. Let's go to the podium now. Here's Coach Stefanski.
Okay, like we talked.
You're down
today. Gutty win wasn't always pretty, but really pleased with how the team fought. I thought, the couple things to point out. I thought the two drives at the end of either half were huge, and those were offense, defense, special teams aided drives to get those points. Some unbelievable individual efforts throughout on all three sides of the ball. So really proud again of just going on the road, finding a way to win. And then we got to do that again this week. So going on the road to Seattle, we know all the things that brings to play, and I think we're excited about that. Injury front, I'll have more information really on everybody as the week progresses. But Jerome Ford dealing with the ankle, Alex Wright is more information, but is trending the right way, concussion protocol. And then Deshaun with the shoulder, obviously we'll continue to take that day to day. But with that, I'll take any questions.
You knew it would be a risk putting him out there after coming back off of an injury, and I'm sure you expected him to take a hit at some point. Did you think that was an excessive hit that he took, that was the reason why you wanted to protect him the rest of the game? I mean, as you can imagine, all hits are tough, but yeah, I thought that was a big hit. I saw it up on the big screen when they showed the replay of it. No, obviously hit on the shoulder, taking him in, checking for a concussion. So I just felt like the right thing for the team was to protect him.
Hey, Kevin, when you look at 456 yards allowed, yet 4 takeaways, how would you assess the way your defense played? Yeah, battled to the end. I mean, that drive at the end to get us a 3-and-out, stopping the run as we used timeouts, that was as big as anything in that game. Was it perfect? Nope. That's what we're in here right now meeting with the players on to try to improve. We know teams are going to make plays on us, but, we want to do everything in our power to slow that other team down. So there's things that we can correct. We will get them corrected, but there's also some unbelievable moments in that game. We've waited till now to talk about Miles. He played as good as you can play in a football game. He's dominated the game. It was a 6-point swing there with blocking the field goal, sack fumble, sacks previously to set up the offense. So he's playing, I don't know if there's a higher level, but he's playing at it.
Yeah, you were able to get the ball downfield to Elijah Moore, had a big catch. You see that working more and more, just, the down the field plays with him? I hope so. He's a really good wide receiver for us. He's a good football player, always trying to find ways to get him the ball. Threw him a screen in the game, made a really nice play. Like you mentioned, that 30-yarder on the last drive was huge. So always looking for ways to get number 8 the ball. Can you also talk about the weapon Dustin Hopkins is? It, he's been almost automatic when you get to the inside the 35. Yeah, very, Dustin's, he's just kicking at a high level. I mean, the guy prepares well, fits in with this team really well. We have a lot of trust in him. We don't want to be kicking too often from 50-plus yards, but the guy just continues to come through for his football team.
What has P.J. Walker done in a short amount of time that continues to give you guys confidence in him if he needs to continue to play past week to week?
Yeah, just you get measured in wins and losses. Doing enough to help us win. We had to go on an 80-yard drive there at the end, and we did. And he operated and did a nice job.
Kevin, for a game that had almost 80 total points, it kind of felt like there was a real emphasis on field position. How much of a weapon is Corey Bojorquez for you?
Yeah, he's a huge weapon. That punt team, a couple times there, flipped the field. I think back even to the end of the half, being able to pin them. I think we maybe had a 4th and 4 or so around midfield. And to play the field position game, I think there are always times when, there's times to be aggressive in those instances. But when you have a weapon like Corey and your punt team, it gives you confidence to put your defense on the field in some advantageous field positions.
PJ's had his 3 elevations now. So is the plan to sign him to the roster, or will you guys allow him to go through waivers and try and get him back on the practice squad?
That's an AB question. But those are all things, Daryl, as you know, we talk through all those, and we'll update you when appropriate.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to go through that end of the game scenario a little more. I know we talked about it a bit yesterday, but when you decide to throw 3 times with no timeouts, I get it. But is the biggest concern there the timing of it, or just, getting guys lined up, having a spike? Like, what goes into the thinking there?
Yeah, it was those 4 plays took years off my life. I'm sure everybody else. So the idea there in the first one, obviously you're trying to score a touchdown, and we weren't, we would have taken a touchdown on first down. We didn't necessarily want to wait till 4th down, but the tough part is if the clock is running after that first down play, we were in 23 personnel, so we had big players on the field, so it's harder to run plays out of that type of group. So really the mentality had been, I knew we're on the 1. I knew our 4th down call was going to score if we got to it, quite honestly. But I just didn't feel comfortable with the thought of a first down, a second down, or a 3rd down play that was going to not get in and then chew off, valuable
30.
So felt confident in the plays we called, and ultimately executed that last one.
And then, look like you had guys open on a couple of those. And then when you say, did you like those calls? And then when you say you knew you were going to score on 4th, was it always just a handoff to Kareem? Was that always the call?
Yeah. So the line, they were yelling at me. I saw Dewan telling me it was a yard. I'm like, I got you, dude. I'll get there.
You're up. That's pretty good.
It's great.
It's pretty good. Did
you see Dewan, the big spike, and then got to go hug and celebrate with his mom? He's from Indianapolis.
I did know that. I did know that he was from Indianapolis, and I saw that he did as well. Yeah, it was man, this league, it's so hard to get those wins. And certainly understand the questions that are out there, and much of the questioning from the beat about what is going on with the quarterback. It's justifiable. It's understandable.
Because it's the biggest – it is the question.
Yeah, because this is the deal. This defense and whomever you play at quarterback is good enough to go 8-9 or 7-10, 9-8 maybe even. Could be good enough to do that. But it's not good enough to do what you want to do big picture in the AFC. It's not. You cannot play offensive football this way. I think we're 31st in the league.
We're last in every quarterback metric in the league.
Yeah, in the league. Yeah,
dead last.
I think 31 overall in the offense, aren't we?
Yeah,
31, something like that. So
1 in defense, 2 special teams, like efficiency. 1 defense, 2 special teams, 31 offense.
31 offense. So,
and we were top 10 offense last year with Jacoby.
Yeah, right. So
and Nick Chubb.
That's the reason that this comes back to the quarterback situation, because and PJ's filled in admirably. To your point earlier, DTR did a great job in the preseason. But in terms of trying to do what you want to do big picture, you have to have better quarterback play than what you're getting. And so that I get all of that. But I would also say that, and this is more for the Browns fans out there, like, man, 4-2 is pretty good. And you get the win. You are watching history every time Myles Garrett takes the field. You're watching a historic performance. He is one of those guys that if you have a parent, a grandparent who says, oh, I remember Jim Brown, or I remember whoever it may be, Kozar, Sipe, or whoever their favorite guy was, Clay Matthews, there will be people you're going to be telling your kids, well, I watched Myles Garrett in his prime, and there was nothing like it. And the Reggie White stuff's there, all that. The way he's playing is worthy of that praise.
On the list of sacks by the time that you turn 28,
it's a ridiculous list.
it's a pretty darn good list. Myles Garrett first, 82. Reggie White second, 80. Derek Thomas, 77. Bruce Smith, 76.5. J.J. Watt has 75. So we're talking about, or 76, I'm sorry. So you're talking about gold jacket, gold jacket, gold jacket, and likely 2 gold jackets.
I'm pretty sure they're all first team, or I'm sorry, first ballot Hoffs too. Was Derek Thomas first ballot? The others were for sure, but I don't know if Derek was first ballot. I think he was.
How could he not be?
I would feel like he would have been first ballot Hall of Fame, but all of those guys are first ballot gold jackets. So that's the trajectory that Myles is on.
Yes.
And his greatness was on full display. And my God, D. Hopkins, man, jeez.
He's so automatic.
Come on, dude. 254 is it at 58?
I talked to him after the game. By the way, Gibbe, are we getting our buddy in here from the special teams unit?
Yes.
We are?
He couldn't do today. But
this week?
Yes.
Oh,
I've
good.
said,
all right, so we'll get Bubba.
I don't care if it's Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday and Thursday are tough because they have practice while we're on the air. But I'm like, I need him in studio.
Yeah.
They are aware.
Okay, good. I think Bubba takes an approach with kickers, and he'll talk about it a little more, but where he kind of says, all right, how do you like to do things?
Mm-hmm.
What is your routine? And then saying, let's do that. And Dustin Hopkins is very particular about when he kicks, how he kicks throughout the course of a week to be ready on Sundays. And by the way, whatever he's doing is pretty darn spot on. It is working. He is a weapon. And, that's what he is what Cade York was drafted to be.
That's right.
And Cade York, hopefully at some point will have a great career in the NFL. I think we're very lucky to have Dustin Hopkins, and he's not going to make everyone. He's missed 2, but he is so reliable. His ball striking is so reliable, and it's just awesome. I mean, we had 2 scoring drives yesterday. We had one that went, I think, like -6 yards and one that went 0 yards, and he's busting 54-yarders after turnovers in their territory where we can't move the ball.
That's right.
We can't move the ball. And, with the way our quarterbacks are playing, you need that. You need him to be Phil Dawson-esque, where Phil Dawson was, the best offensive weapon. And right now, Dustin Hopkins is doing his best at that. He's on a trajectory to be the Pro Bowl quarterback and maybe even a first-team All-Pro. Like that's
where he's at now.
That's how well he's kicking the football for the Cleveland Browns. One thing I want to say real quickly is, our run game, 33 carries, 150 yards, 4.5 a carry. You take away 69 and 17, which is 86. We had 31 carries for 64 yards.
Yeah.
We have too many runs that go 0 or backwards.
Well, backwards.
Where I think we're 26.
PJ on that flip to Jerome, my God.
But that was a great play call.
It was a fantastic. PJ he threw a fastball. The guy was
wide open,
2 yards away for you to like.
So you think it was too fast?
To me on television,
I couldn't tell
way
from we
too
were
fast.
far. Okay.
To me on TV, it looked like he was throwing like a missile to
it was where it
2
was
yards away.
It was accurate.
Yeah, but it was hard.
Well, his why am I blanking on his shovel pass to Chief was a
rocket
fireball off of his face.
Correct. Yeah.
From a yard.
But
that play, that's one of those ones where that might very well may have been a touchdown. You had a blocker on the outside.
There.
You had a block. Yeah. There was nobody there. They all bid on the dive, and then you pitched it out, and that's what lends it so hard because, man, that could change things. But overall, the point I was making was even on that last drive when we ran, if it was like if Pierre Strong got to the line of scrimmage, he picked up 13 yards.
Yep.
Or he was hit in the backfield and it was over. And I think we've got to do – there's certain things that we've got to do a little bit better in the run game, and I think, that certainly would be one. Negative plays, because this is not a team that's going to do very well from behind the sticks. I mean, you got a 3rd 10 conversion, and it required probably the best throw of P.J. Walker's career.
Yeah.
Outside of the bomb to DJ Moore last year to get it to Elijah Moore.
By the way, real quick, because we got to go to break here, Derek Thomas took him 5 tries to get in.
What?
That's a joke.
5 times.
It's a bad job. It's a bad job. Joe Thomas, half hour coming up next. You'll see Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
1 sec.
Ward has it at the 40, spins back and runs towards the Browns bench. Midfield has blockers. Colts territory. Down to the 42 where he's tackled.
Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You're up.
Browns fans, Express Beer, presented by Bud Light, brings the same facial authentication technology used in Express access to beer purchases in the stadium. Dedicated Express Beer stands are the fastest way to get a beer at Cleveland Browns Stadium. If you're 21 or older, go to the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. Time for the Joe Thomas half hour of the program, joined by the Hoff now. Hoff, I just want to start with this. You've played a lot of football. You've been involved with a lot of football. Have you ever seen anybody do what Miles did on the blocked field goal, in that from a stance to almost like Frogger over the line of scrimmage and then on the same land and then jump again to block a kick? Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, it was one of the most amazing athletic feats that I've ever seen on a football field. The ability to just vertical jump over a human being and not touch him whatsoever, and then jump again high enough to block a kick is a remarkable feat of athletic prowess, and it's why I keep telling people that I think Myles Garrett's probably the most physically freakish player that I ever stepped foot on a football field with.
Hoff, when you watch what he did, not only on that, but you even go put the tape on for the sack strip fumble, he's getting chipped by a tight end. The tackle's kind of like waiting for him. He still gets around the outside of the tackle, like without ever breaking stride. He goes through a chip, around a block, and makes that fumble. How does he do that?
I think the thing that separates Myles is obviously he's super big and fast and strong, but his ability to bend and be slippery and sudden. Like when he puts his foot in the ground, he can change direction at full speed, which is not something that you usually see from anybody, much less a guy who's 280 pounds. And then just his ability to bend and get through tight spaces. You know, it's kind of like that mouse that keeps sneaking into my garage. Like the guy can slither through the tiniest of cracks that you've ever seen. And it's something that doesn't even make sense. A huge human being all of a sudden just morphing down and doing like the Matrix to get through those blocks. I mean, it's fun to watch him. It's hard for me to watch any other parts of the field when Myles is out there because it's so amazing what he does on a consistent basis.
Yeah, we've been blessed to see some really transcendent defensive players. Your fellow Wisconsinite J.J. Watt has been that. TJ's had Aaron Donald's probably the standard over the last decade plus. But it does feel like Myles has reached or is reaching whatever peak Myles Garrett is. And if you think about what he's capable of, Joe, I mean, obviously he'll join you in a gold jacket at this trajectory. That game yesterday, I'm trying to think of I'm sure Aaron's had games like this. We know TJ's had, but like a game where like you do not win without him, and he is directly responsible for points for our team in the game, directly.
My guy, Andrew Hawkins, texted during the game that Myles Garrett is the Browns' best offensive player because he was. He was scoring all of the points out there. I mean, for a game that the Browns' offense was not really at their best, to say it mildly, Myles kept them in there and basically delivered them the win with the number of game-changing and direct point-scoring moments that he did from the defensive and the special teams side of the game. I mean, I can't imagine remembering a game outside of an NFL game where some cornerback might have a couple pick sixes or something like that, where a defensive player legitimately had that many turnover-worthy and turnover and point-producing plays from the defensive side.
Hoff, take us through kind of your mindset watching this one. We know that the Cleveland Browns historically in these type of games, it has not worked the way that we have wanted to. They have not concluded the way that we have wanted to. To see this team go and get it done and then take us in the mindset of a lineman where it's 4th and a yard. And I thought Jed Wills did a great job on kind of his seal down there to allow Wyatt to pull around. But the mindset of just getting it done in that moment as an offensive line as well when it's 4th and 1 and you need that yard for a win.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I mean, having Nick Harris there playing fullback for us in the backfield a bunch of times. And it was great for me to watch Stefanski just go, hey, you know what? It's not our game throwing the football. We feel like, we have some opportunities. We just didn't capitalize on it. But you know what? We can just go ground and pound we can get this done with our big fellas and a guy that nobody really knew who he was before this game, and Pierre Strong. And being able to just impose your will on your opponent. It's got to feel good. And I hope that it kind of builds some excitement within that locker room, like, hey, you know what? We can do this thing however we have to on offense, because obviously it hasn't looked pretty from week to week. You don't know how long Deshaun's going to be out, and you don't know how effective he's going to be when he comes back. So if without Nick Chubb, it means that we have to get big and we have to get physical and put Nick Harris in the backfield a little bit. That's what we can do it, because we've proven now that that's a way that we can win the game, especially when you couple it with that great defense that we have.
You know, there's one other factor here, and Miles was incredible, but the other positive factor is it, and you played with Phil, so you have a better feeling about that. I wasn't covering the team on a daily basis at that point, but like Dustin Hopkins being automatic is pretty cool, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's great. Where was this guy like during preseason when all we wanted to talk about, when all I got to talk about on the broadcast was the kicker? You know, it's so cool to think that feels like we're back to that Phil Dawson days where, you know, you line up anytime you're inside of the 35 and you feel pretty good about your chances. And then all of a sudden now he's extending them. I mean, how long was that one? 63 in the game?
58.
And it looked like it would have been good from about it looked like it would have been a good from about 68. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had plenty of room to spare. So he's got the leg, he's got the accuracy. That's great. I mean, defense, special teams, good kicking game. If you can run the ball a little bit, like that's the old school formula for success. But it's still a formula for success in today's NFL. So I think it's something that you're going to want to lean on moving forward, and you're going to be a tough team to beat if you can do those things moving forward. And you can just start playing some more mistake-free football, which that's been our biggest Achilles heel the whole season. You know, you can talk about inconsistent quarterback play, and maybe that's part of it, inconsistent offensive output. But, you know, we're turning the ball over, and we weren't getting turnovers until this game. So, you know, limit your turnovers, just protect the football, and start getting some turnovers on defense, and you're going to win a lot of games with as good as we are personnel and scheme-wise there, especially on defense.
Yeah, his defense is playing lights out. Hopkins playing lights out. You mentioned quarterback. All right, what did you observe with Deshaun? What do you make of kind of what happened, and where do the Browns go from here?
Well, what did he have, 5 or 6 passes
5.
Before he left the game with the concussion check, and then they said he didn't have a concussion, but they just held him out because of his shoulder. I mean, he didn't look effective. It looked like it was bothering his ability to throw the ball down the field. It looked like on the throws that he had, he was kind of underthrowing him. And then I think also when you don't feel like you have your normal cannon, you're going to start letting that creep into your head a little bit about, like, can I make that throw? And then you start being maybe more risk averse than you should, and you start throwing the ball in spots that are not there. They're not available, but you're just worried you can't throw the ball further down the field. And so I think you just start overthinking things, and now all of a sudden you're throwing the ball right to the defense because you're not taking your normal mindset throughout the snap, from the ball getting snapped to you dropping back to going through your progressions and just letting it rip wherever the defense dictates. You're not doing that, and I think it's dangerous, and because you're going to put the ball in harm's way, trying to force it in places that you think your arm is available to put the ball. And so I think he needs to make sure his arm is 100% healthy before he gets back there, because the 5 passes I saw before he got injured, they were not pretty. And that was not winning football that he was playing before he left the game. So let's get him healthy. You know, I think PJ has proven that he can win. He's 2-0 as a starter right now. And especially if we start bringing this run game on a little bit, I think Jerome Ford's showing us some stuff. Kareem Hunt's been a sledgehammer in there. Pierre Strong all of a sudden doing some fun stuff. You know, and so just play some old school ball until Deshaun's completely ready and completely healthy to get back in there.
Hoff, you mentioned the run game, and that's something, you know, you look at the final stats, 150 yards rushing, 4.5 a carry, 3 touchdowns. That looks good. We had like 117 on the ground early in the game, obviously 69 off of Jerome Ford. But we're near the bottom of the league in the percentage of negative or no gain runs that we're allowing. What why is that happening? Because it feels like when we get things blocked up, well, we're very effective running the ball. But even on, for example, Pierre Strong, anytime he could get to the line of scrimmage, he picked up, it felt like 8 to 13 yards. If he couldn't get to the line of scrimmage, obviously he had a negative run. Why is that happening so often this season? And it's not just Nick Chubb, because we were trending this way every year. We kind of been getting worse a little bit in terms of our negative runs, and we're still good with explosive runs. Why are we getting some of these negative runs?
Well, I'm glad you clarified, because when you first described it, I was a little confused. We were near the bottom in not allowing negative runs. I was like, I don't even know what that means. But I think the issue is when you run a running scheme that's trying to get to the edges a lot of times, like outside zone or the pin pull when you're trying to get around people. Those are kind of outhouse or penthouse type runs. And I remember thinking back when Kyle Shanahan was here and he first introduced us to the outside zone scheme. Mike Pettin was the head coach, and obviously defensive-minded head coach, because that's where his background was. And defensive guys, they play like the game within the game almost too much, right? They think about every yard and every down and distance, and they don't care as much about hitting the home runs. They just want to make sure that you're not having any negative runs. And they don't like being behind the sticks. They don't like 3 and outs. It's kind of that old school mentality, and I remember Pettin and Kyle would kind of go back and forth a little bit, because when you run outside a lot, you have to run sideways, and it takes a lot longer to get to the line of scrimmage. So you do have a lot more negative runs. And I think if you looked at all the teams that run predominantly outside zone or outside concepts, you're going to have a lot more negative runs than teams that run inside and that just kind of slam it up in there. But I think the payoff is that teams have to play defense from sideline to sideline, right, which opens up a lot more holes in the middle. And a lot of these runs are set up for explosive runs, which is a lot more damaging to a defense overall than just hitting a bunch of 3 and 4 yard runs, because it's really hard to go down the field with 3 and 4 yard runs making your way, because eventually a defense is going to get a stop or going to force a sack or a big negative play or a penalty, and then the drive's over if you have no ability to hit some explosive runs. So I think just the nature of our running scheme going to the sidelines more causes us to take more negative yard runs, and most defensive coaches hate negative runs, but I think offensive coaches realize if that's who you are, you have a much better chance of A, having a lot more rushing yards during the game, B, being a lot more dangerous because now defenses have to cover sideline to sideline, so they open up a lot more stuff in the middle. And C, it opens up your passing game for explosive chunk plays, because those defenses are concerned about that sideline to sideline running game, and you're able to mesh what that sideline running game looks like with your play action pass a lot more smoothly than just your inside zone or your power concepts, which those play action schemes look nothing like the passes and the runs that you're trying to get to look together when you're running those in the same offense.
Huff, I wanted to go back to a comment you made about Deshaun when you said, when he does come back in there, who knows if he can be effective. And look, he hasn't played effective football in over a month. He's missed largely a month of practices. As you are an elite athlete like he is, how can you physically get right and mentally get right during an NFL season? What would you want if you were him in order to get back to your old self?
Well, I think you need to feel better and go out and practice and be able to throw the ball around and make all of the throws that you're used to making. I don't know, because we don't get to go to practice anymore during the season, how much he practiced and if he was limited to some of the throws in practice or what that looked like, because I can imagine that he was probably out there in practice trying to get back out there, and he probably couldn't make all the throws. And then that eats and that erodes at your self-confidence coming in game day. And I'm sure you're thinking, okay, on game day I'm going to get a shot in my shoulder. I'm going to take some medicine so that I feel better, so that hopefully I can make those throws. But if you're limited from a muscular standpoint on being able to throw the football, because it's much more of an art throwing the football than, just smashing skulls with people and playing offensive line, which is more just about bully ball and technique. When you're dealing with throwing the football, you have to really feel good, because otherwise it erodes that confidence. And an eroded confidence is going to leach into every part of your game. And like I mentioned earlier, then I think you're making decisions that you're wishing you didn't make because you're just not confident that you can throw the football. So for him to be able to get back to his confidence, I think it has to happen in practice. I think you need to see good practice days back-to-back where he's making all those throws and he feels like, yeah, I am back to my old self. I'm back to the guy that played well against Tennessee. And I think that's when you've got an opportunity to get Deshaun out there and get him playing good football again. But I think if you rush him back where he has to play before he has a chance to go through a full practice and make all the throws, then I think you're rolling the dice on what version of Deshaun you get on a Sunday.
Yeah, and this is a team that feels like it has a chance, right? A little bit of a destiny feel. We've won games that we don't usually win, and you want to see this team get that good quarterback play so we can play this complementary football. And it feels like we're kind of in limbo again this week as we head to Seattle. And coming off of 4-2, there are questions, maybe more than answers at the most important position here. And this is the thing that I think is hard, Hoff, and I think what Bo was getting at is, he did practice fully on Friday, and he did throw the ball fine. And then in the game, it was like he didn't necessarily trust it under those auspices. So, you've played through a ton of stuff in your career. You are an Ironman 10,363. We all know that. How did you mentally convince yourself that you were able to do what you needed to do, as opposed to focusing on maybe what you couldn't do?
Well, I think practicing on a Friday is a little bit different than practicing on Wednesday and Thursday because it's an abbreviated practice. And yeah, you try to hit all the different situations on a Friday. You're not really going through a full practice. And I have no idea how it was scripted, if Kevin was still thinking like, hey, let's maybe hold back on some of these down the field concepts because, I don't want to test it too much. And, we'll go out on Saturday and hit some of these. So I guess I don't really know fully what that looked like on that Friday. But, I think it is going to be a little bit of a challenge getting Deshaun to the point where he is getting his confidence back in his shoulder. And it is going to have to end up being on a game day where he does feel that way, right? Because doing it in practice is one thing, but you're always going to doubt yourself until you're able to do it on that game day.
Yeah, certainly so. Look, here's the reality. You needed to get to 4-2 because Pittsburgh got to 4-2, the Ravens got to 5-2, and so you're going to have to keep stacking these things as you look about what's happening around the league. One other thing that happened around the league yesterday was last night, the Eagles and the Dolphins. And Hoff, among your many accomplishments, we can now add you can fix how to defend the tush push. Is that correct?
That's right, and I'm surprised that nobody else has suggested this because it's the biggest conversation in NFL circles right now. And, I think Peter King has been talking early on this season about how it needs to be outlawed and it's a disgrace to the game of football. And there's plenty of other people like that are saying that. And, they were mentioning how it's so easy anybody could do it. But I think we've proved in the last few weeks, as other teams have tried to do it, that it's very unique to the skill sets that the Eagles have with the center guard combination that they have on the inside, and then the big quarterback that they have being able to kind of go over the top or whatever it takes. But I think what people forgot, and the reason that I know so much about the double push or the triple push, which used to be legal on field goal block when I was in the NFL, was my rookie year. We went to go play against the Raiders, and they, on the last kick of the game, Phil Dawson was lining up almost a 50-yard field goal to kick to win the game, or at least take us to overtime. I can't remember what the score was. But the Raiders said, hey, we know you're not going to fake it, so we're going to put 6 guys over your right guard. And it was basically 3 dudes lined up in stances, and then we had 3 guys behind them pushing their tush. And they just completely pancaked and steamrolled our right guard. And then one of those dudes that ran through our line of defenses blocked Phil Dawson's kick, and they recovered it, and we lost the game. Well, it's not something you can normally do because putting 6 guys over one guard obviously opens you up to a lot of fake potential unless it's the last play of the game. But I kind of saw how powerful, pushing another player on his butt is. And if you watch the Eagles, the reason they win successfully is because, first of all, your linemen are low, right? And
So
they
low.
get a little
Yep.
bit of a stalemate typically. And the Dolphins, if you watched the game last night, just basically kind of submarined underneath them.
Yeah, they
so it
lined
just
down on
became
the
a
ground.
stalemate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just basically laid down on the ground because they didn't want the Eagles to be able to get up under them, right?
Yeah.
So now there's basically just carcasses laying on the ground. Well, Jalen Hurts is now on top of him, and he's not going to get down because the ground is covered like your bedroom growing up with all of your dirty laundry. Like there's nowhere for his knee to touch the ground even if he wanted to. So now they got these huge guys behind. They're basically just picking him up like a wheelbarrow and just gliding him over the top of these carcasses to the first down. So in order to stop it, you need to have a tush-push of your own fighting back in the other direction, and you need to get the guys on the edge to be able to knock off the pushers that are pushing the quarterback. Because if you don't knock the pushers that are pushing Jalen Hurts, there's no way he's going to get stopped and there's no way he's going to go down because you've got three human beings pushing and one person trying to stop him, maybe 1.5 on defense. So as long as those guys on the edge run around and just tackle or knock off the pushers, then Jalen's not going to have somebody pushing him as he's just laying there with his lifeless body, getting body surfed over the top of all these carcasses in front of him. I think that's the best way to stop him. And I hope that somebody reads my tweet and tries that as a way to stop it, because right now everything that I've seen is not functioning, is not working, including trying to line up offside, which is what the Dolphins tried to do last night.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Yeah. They were practically past Kelsey's head on that one when they were lined up so far offsides on that one. Are you able to kind of, as a Browns fan, kind of this roller coaster? Wyatt Teller said that he was on the roll. His brother-in-law, I think, said he was on a roller coaster, and he's like, we were all on the big coaster out there. These games are just so wild. And how fun is it to see them go this way? I was trying to ask this earlier, but I asked two questions, which is a horrible job out of me, and you answered the second one, which is what always happens. But I want to go back to that. This doesn't happen to the Browns. These games are not won by the Cleveland Browns. And we are 4-2. Yes, we have questions. We've talked about that. But it's fun when these games go your way, because otherwise it would be devastating.
Oh, God.
Pedro would be so disappointed in you asking two questions at once.
I know he would
want a red mark.
That's all right. I'm mad at him anyway. He sent me a text. Browns are so lucky. Blah blah. I'm like, hater. Go away. We beat the Niners.
Hater. He's just mad about what happened to his 49ers. Yeah, I mean, what joy it is on a Sunday to have this emotional roller coaster and feel good when it's over. We used to ride the emotional roller coaster, and the coaster derailed, and all of a sudden, we hit our heads on the concrete at Six Flags or
It's not good.
That's not a fun roller coaster.
No.
Not good. So it is cool. I mean, I was not around as a fan during the Cardiac Kids era. I was too young, and I was probably a Packer fan by default growing up in Wisconsin at that point. But it's got to be how the fans felt back then, right? Where you have this team that just is back and forth. Every game's a roller coaster. They know how to play with your emotions, but in the end, they find a way to win. And that's what you have to do in the NFL. Like, games are not always going to be pretty, but you got to be able to find a way to win. And you got to find a way to make your fans feel good at the end. And that's what brings us pure joy. And I'm happy that we were able to, against all odds, including a moment where I thought the game was over when there was a sack fumble and they recovered it. It was like, 38 seconds left? I'm like, that's it. I turned to Annie. I go, the game's over. Like, we have no ability to stop the clock. It's done.
I'm pretty sure on the broadcast we said, it's over. It's not over.
It's not over.
We're back,
baby. I love it. It's not over. It wasn't over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. I love it. It's fun, man. This is a fun team, even though it's frustrating at times, especially because, you're not getting that consistent offensive output. That would be really fun. But everybody just wants feels in life, right? Emotions, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. You just want feels. Like, that's why people will listen to Skip Bayless in the morning, because they want to get mad at him, right? But mad is a feel, too. And you get fired up with mad, right? That's why people love politics. Gets them all hot and bothered, right? And this Browns team gets us hot and bothered, but then we're happy in the end, so I'm okay with it.
Huff, here's this. I want to get you out of here on this one. In terms of people that you are close to, two had incredible weekends. So I don't know if you saw this or not. Michael Irvin used his time on his show on Irv, the great Irv, used his time on his show on Friday to go at his son, who is a rapper who acts like he's a gangster, and Michael is yelling at him, "You grew up in a gated community." So he used like a FS1 show to go at his son.
amazing.
So that's one. And then the other one, we had our friend of ours, Bernie Kosar, posting a picture inexplicably with Taylor Swift at Travis Kelce's house. So you know both of these entities very well, Irv and Bernie. Who had the better weekend?
That's a great question. I think that Bernie had the better weekend because that I feel like was the bigger upset. I know that Travis and Jason were big fans of Bernie and they've been friends for a long time, which I get it. Like, that's awesome. I'm very happy for them. Travis and Jason are amazing humans. To invite Bernie over is phenomenal. But I was shocked to see Taylor Swift there. Like, she is on a level of celebrity that I've never been around.
Well, you better on The Rock.
LeBron, but even LeBron or The Rock. Okay, The Rock would be similar. Yeah. But I wouldn't expect to see The Rock just like hanging out at somebody's house, even if it was his girlfriend's house. Like, those type of people don't hang out with commoners, and we're all commoners compared to the level of stardom of Taylor Swift. And the fact that she had the graciousness to take a couple photos with the burn was awesome. I know me as a Browns fan, I was showing extreme chestiness and pride after seeing those on social media. It was good, man. I was happy for everybody there, and obviously I've got a lot of pride in Travis Kelce, and specifically that he's from Cleveland, because my daughters went to see the Taylor Swift movie on Friday and said it was the best concert they ever went to, including my wife and my sister. They were like, it was, one, the best concert we've ever been to. Two, as soon as it was over, I walked right outside, and within 2 minutes I was in my car, and the tickets were $12. So I was like, this is great. This is
much better deal.
Every concert's going to go to. This is a way better deal than going to a real concert and being 300 yards away from the stage and having to wait in line for 2 hours and pay $55 for, a thing of popcorn.
Pay $1,000 just to get in. She was printing money there.
Yeah, $1,000 for your tickets.
Huff,
this is amazing. And on top of that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm excited about Taylor and Bernie. Go ahead.
I love it, but I was going to say, after I saw that picture, I tweeted out, "Is this Apex Bernie?" And I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
The peak of Bernie Kosar. Might have been the peak of Taylor Swift.
I think he definitely Apex.
Apex Bernie.
Do yourself a favor. When we're done here, I want you to Google Irv's accosting his son for acting like he's a gangster.
Was he on the show?
He's on the show.
The son is.
He's no.
He's just talking through the TV to his son.
Through the TV to his son, saying, "You grew up in a gated community.
It's every level you had privilege."
Unbelievable. So that's that's
Can't
my
wait.
gift. That's my gift to you, Hoff, on a Monday, my friend. Enjoy that.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a gift to us. We appreciate your time as always, my friend.
Lots of homework, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hoff, yes.
And that was the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. We've got the great clips. It's going to be great clip of the game. We'll go around a absolutely bonkers weekend. We got a score for you as well. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bo here for my guys at Renew Home Exteriors. Now introducing new Ascend composite clad siding featuring a beautiful deep grain look. 20 available colors on that. Keep that just installed look for a lifetime with this low maintenance siding. Plus, with Renew's price match guarantee, you can be assured you're going to receive the best price for your exterior project even after you buy. Renew Home Exteriors. Superior product, superior service. Visit renewestimate.com for more on that. Time now for our great clips. It's going to be great clip of the game. Here's D-Hop from 58.
From the right hash, Bojorquez kneels at the 48. It's going to be a short approach trying to avoid the block. Hopkins from 58 gets it away. It is long enough, and it is good.
It is good.
That was good.
I mean, D-Hop. The guy's a beast. It's really the only way you can say it. The guy's an absolute beast, and he has been so critical in the fact that we're 4-2. And I go back to it. That was one of the for a 7th round pick. It's an unbelievable move by Andrew Berry.
Here's the deal. It was necessary because everybody knows what's at stake this year.
Couldn't have been more necessary.
Right? And so that's why it is also necessary big picture throughout this week to get better quarterback play. That is required. It's necessary because you're not going to continue to have the type of, quite frankly, football god luck we've had the last couple of times out.
Correct.
Like we have got to start dominating teams we're supposed to dominate. We'll take it. 4-2 is a blast. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, D-Hop. Thank you, Kareem, for scoring on the final. Wyatt Teller for blocking his guy to Peoria. All of those things. But the reality is that as this gets tougher, you're at Seattle this week, which will be a full day. Arizona you should be able to handle that. But you can't take anything for granted in this league, and then you're back into divisional games. So you've got to figure that thing out this week. That's got to be job.
You have 2 weeks, and I think obviously, look, there's no reason why you can't go 2-0, but you got to split these next 2, and then you have Steelers Ravens back to back. Those 2 games are going to be monsters. I think it's actually Ravens then Steelers.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Those are monstrous. The next 4 games are monstrous. And if you can come out of them 2-2, you're 6-4 going into the final 7. You are in a great spot. If you do better than that, you are all of a sudden we've got it going. But we're not going to be able to do that unless we get better play as an offense and better play specifically at the quarterback position. And it's wild that this is where we are. Like if I had 4-2, everybody would be pumped up, right? 4-2 through 6. If this was the team that had Nick Chubb and Watson was playing solid football and all of that, you're thinking we can go win the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
There's still a lot of questions because Nick Chubb is not coming back, and so it is paramount that the quarterback is good. And thus far, we had one good game. That was a month ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And if you watched, how much of the league were you guys able to pay? Obviously, you're doing your game, and then you guys are late out of Indies, so
much.
You didn't get to see much.
Yeah, I did not get to see much at all. It was.
I think it was the most backwards day of the league year to this point. The most backwards Sunday. I mean, it wasn't just covering scores; it was scores going backwards that happened over and over again. It was the Bears hammering the Raiders behind a kid who won the Harlan Hill Trophy as the Division II Player of the Year from the week before, had never played in an NFL game, and they bullied him. They won 30-12. They dominated the entire way against the Raiders.
Why did the Raiders start Brian Hoyer?
I have no idea.
That's his 13th straight loss as a starting quarterback.
I have no idea why you would start him when you have Aiden O'Connell. I mean, like, see what the kid has.
Like, it's not like the reps are valuable for Hoyer. Like,
no. It's completely worthless. I have no idea what they were doing there. That game was wild. The Patriots are leading the entire game. The Bills score 15 in the 4th, and you think, okay, I mean the number on this was 8.5. Yep. I thought that they would have handled that. They didn't. But as you're doing it, you say, okay, well they're going to go win. They're finally going to win. Oh no, Mac Jones goes right down the field. And New England, who was 1-5 coming in, goes down the field and wins 29-25. That one was absolutely crazy. The Giants dominated Washington.
Dominated.
14-7. Washington got nothing offensively whatsoever. You could argue that the most stupefying one was 38-6. Ravens over Detroit. It was 28-0 at half. 38-6 doesn't even do it justice.
Score, stop. And that was it.
Yeah, Lamar was sensational in this game.
He's good.
350. Well, no kidding. I mean, he was even beyond though. I mean, it was 357, 3 scores in this one. And the other thing was like Monken was scheming guys wide open, like uncovered in the middle of the field. It was crazy.
21 of 27 for 357. So
there was nobody
13 yards in
there
attempt.
There were a half dozen plays where Lamar is buying time in the pocket and throws to somebody, and they start running, and you're like, well, is there a defender anywhere? Where are the defenders? It was absolute dominance out of Baltimore as they improved to 5-2. Pittsburgh, we talked about the most fortuitous spot you're ever going to get in that game against the Rams. And then the team we play this week, Seattle, they beat Arizona 20-10. And then a fun one in the late afternoon, the Chiefs beat the Chargers 31-17. That was crazy because it starts with Bernie and Taylor Swift at Travis Kelce's house,
Wild.
and then Kelce goes nuts. In the game, Mahomes 424, 4 touchdowns. Kelce 12 for 179 and a touchdown in that one.
Can we also talk about the Broncos somehow beating the Packers?
That was one of my few wins.
Those two teams suck.
The Packers are dreadful.
They both really
They
suck.
are dreadful.
Yeah, those teams suck.
The Chargers are like they got to fire everybody. What are they?
You got to fire him now.
Yes.
You cannot waste any more. You're 6 games in. You're 2-4. You
By the way,
can't continue on this path.
And this one I got to watch
team?
a little bit of. Why don't they throw the ball to Austin Eckler anymore? Austin Eckler was like a receiving stud for them. Palmer had a nice game. I don't know. Herbert just looked – he was under duress a lot. I think he got sacked 5 times in it. That one I got to watch a little bit. The Chiefs were just toying with him. Kelsey's – I mean, we're getting stats. Kelsey with Taylor Swift in attendance, without Taylor Swift. Like, what are we doing? But he put on a show. She was at the house with Byrne, and then he put on a show. So maybe does that get Bernie, and is Bernie invited to the house for pregame every week now?
Why not? Might as well.
Why not?
Who's stopping him? And then the
me.
Eagles and the glorious Kelly Greens.
Oh gosh, did they look
against
good.
Miami, and take care of business. That you can. I just would push back. I don't push back on the Hoff often, and he may have a plan for slowing that thing down. But I do think the one thing on that is automatic.
Is that mine or yours?
I don't know.
Oh, right.
The one thing
I think
the one thing that is automatic, and the one thing that it's hard to put perspective on is Jason Kelce gets so low and is so explosive, and Jalen Hurts might be the strongest lower-bodied quarterback in the league, and so Hurts' ability, all the rest of those things happen, the pushing, all of that, but Hurts is so strong in the lower body that he gets forward momentum at snap, and there is, in that sense, no stopping it.
No, he can squat 600 pounds. So he's
So
driving.
he's
and
driving,
they're pushing,
and he's following Kelce.
Yes,
and so he's got this All-Pro, borderline Hall of Fame center, could be a Hall of Famer by the time all is said and done, who he's following him, and then he is the strongest quarterback in the league in the lower body. The combination of the two make it. I agree with Nick Sirianni, who said yesterday, a lot of people would like to do this, they just can't do it as well as we do.
Right, and I think their quarterback is a big reason why they are able to do it. They play a different game. They start they play first and 8.5. They don't play first and 10. They play first and 8.5. They've got to get 8.5 yards in 3 plays, and then they get a first down.
Yeah, because there were several times when they were icing the game last night where they ran that on 4th and 1 on one drive twice, and it's automatic every time.
Automatic. And DeAndre Swift, I feel like, gets tackled inside of the 1 yard line more than anybody in the NFL. And then Jalen Hurts gets, oh my God, it's crazy. And he's not getting the ball. Most teams are like, they're down to the 1. My running back's going to score. Nope.
No. Here's Jalen for another one.
They don't even pretend. Like, they don't pretend they're going to run.
I think it's known. It's known.
We're running.
It's also weird, like
deal
Devonta Smith doesn't do much. It's like all A.J. Brown.
It's all A.J. And Goddard.
And Goddard. It's strange the way that they're going about their business. We got a score for tonight coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM Preferred Copiers and Document Services for the Cleveland Browns. You can tackle any size office, 216-485-2000, or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. We do have Monday Night Football tonight. It is the 49ers at Vikings, Gibby. We're at Minnesota.
49ers visiting Minnesota.
Nate.
The best stadium in the National Football League.
Nate, last time the Niners beat the Vikings in Minnesota, Steve Young was the quarterback. Nate.
Can you believe?
That's how he salts the wound.
Can I just tell you guys something? I mentioned it earlier. I alluded to it.
You told me on the bus.
I was not happy with him.
You would have thought coming off of a scholarship that he would be feeling good about everything.
Sue sends the nicest text. He was not. What did he say?
So we're in the booth. Game
minute.
ends. Siciliano's getting text from his family, like, love it. Like, his mom's in Italy, like, all this stuff. The girl's like, yeah, I got a text from my dad telling me how lucky we are because of bad officiating.
Goes, wow, 2 weeks in a row with ridiculous help from the refs. Second PI calls absurd. Catch the ball if he's 9 feet tall, maybe. Good win, though.
How did you, and I think for the audience, like to understand how you became such a pure joy human out of that yoke is a remarkable
It
thing.
is. So I wrote back, hater.
30 for 30.
He sends me an article saying that Gibson didn't even get fined for his hit. He said the NFL didn't believe it was a penalty. 2 games. He goes, not hater, factual observer.
30-30. A factual observer when the facts match up with his beliefs.
Right.
Is the way that works.
And then when not, he creates the facts.
Then he creates or finds somebody who's have similar facts. I got the Niners. Who knows? It's been a brutal week.
Been brutal. I think
That's
the Niners.
my gut
I think
feeling
the
says
Niners bounce back. I'm going to take the Vikings to get
Cover City
inside of the number.
All right, there you go, kids.
That way, one of us can win the week.
Somebody can win at least.
It's
pretty
otherwise,
bad.
there's no winning.
No winning.
Well, I think
for
the best case scenario for either one of us is to go 5-8.
Yeah, it's awful.
That's the best case.
That's best case scenario.
So one of us will now.
One of us will. So there you go.
There you
Hey,
go.
we'll get a lot of victories for you kids.
Yeah,
The next level's coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.